welcome to another D&D Stories. I am your host, TheWriter, and this is the show where I sit here in front of a shelf full of gaming stuff and tell you all my D&D stories. Now, topic of the day today is called The Quest for the Character Sheet, which happened to me very recently, and it's just so stupid and outrageous I can't make this up, and I decided to share it with you guys because this has never happened to me before and hopefully will never happen again, but I'll explain. Normally, when you start into a D&D campaign, your DM says, okay, you can use this book and this book and this book. This is how I want you to roll your stats, 3d6, or, 4d6 drop the lowest, or 4d6 drop the ones, drop the lowest, etc., etc. So, these classes, these feats and all that. And, you print out a character sheet and you go to work. And, it takes, some people it just takes an hour because they throw something together and then they have more fun role-playing. Or there's other people that'll sit, in front of books for 6 hours just pouring through stuff, trying to figure out how to squeeze every amount of efficiency out of the numbers and equipment and different things like that. But me, I ran into a little problem. I got invited to a campaign by my friends over at Tabletop Terrors, so I've mentioned them a few times. Tabletop Terrors Jim and Tabletop Terrors James, who are brothers, who run a channel called Tabletop Terrors. Now, I've listened to a few of their games. They record footage like I do for some of the more recent D&D stories, and I play Minecraft, or I play Armello, I play, different things that doesn't need 100% of my concentration, and I listen to them in the background with the volume muted so I can hear about their adventures, kind of like how you guys listen to me when you're playing Warcraft or doing dishes or cleaning out your attic. That one person, I saw that really nice comment. Hope the attic cleaning goes well. I ran into a problem right away because I got invited to this campaign and I was like, yes, this is the first, 4-person and me not the DM campaign I've been in since college. I'm just immediately squeeing in delight because they're like, yeah, it's going to be Tim and this girl, Cassandra, and this other guy, Mike, and, so James is going to DM and we want you to come, a traditional 4-player D&D game. And I'm like, yay! Because my main problem is getting players together, people that are reliable, people that show up, people that I don't have to teach, and suddenly there's this veteran group of people that do cool shit all the time. They're like, yeah, you come too. I'm like, yes, all right. So I immediately, I accept and I go, yeah, I'm down for it. And they go, okay, it's going to be 5th edition, level 4, standard races, etc., etc. Go to town and we'll meet back and see what everybody's come up with. And I go, okay. And so I go off and I pull out my books and I get my grid paper notebook and I roll stats, and I have Bree there with me to make sure I'm not cheating. And I do like a human rogue because I have not played a rogue, I don't think, ever in like a campaign where I'm playing as a player. Have I ever played a rogue before? No, I don't think so. But I was like, okay, and I'm scribbling all these notes, and I was like, okay, his stats are this, these are his feats, these are his HP, and I get all this junk, all these notes, all these details together. I'm like, okay, now I gotta go print a character sheet and put all this crap onto the character sheet so I can read it when the game comes out, or when the game starts. And I go over to my printer and or my computer, and I hit print, the standard 5th edition character sheet. I don't like using the custom ones that you find online. And the printer prints out everything except for the black of the character sheet. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I go and I replace the ink cartridge, which is, $35? Really goddamn expensive. Then again, it's an HP printer, which is probably my first mistake because HP does not make printers that last for very long, and this one is almost 3 years old. So I replaced the cartridge, and, or actually no, I didn't do that first. First, I tried to clean the cartridge that I had. I got like a non-static Q-tip and tried to like ungunk it, and then I ran all the ink head cleaners that you can do if you get into the options and junk that goes on your computer for, you know, if your ink is like stopped up or dried or getting gunky, it'll like push the ink extra hard to like burst through the gunk and be able to print normally again. It would not print black. And I went online and I got onto the forums. It was like, oh, you can try this with the Q-tip. And I'm like, okay, I did that. You can replace the cartridge. And I did that. And like, you can, you know, tell it to run its internal cleaning protocols. And I did that like 6 times because apparently somebody did it. And on like the 6th try, it actually came out correctly. Nope. My printer busted when I needed something simple like a character sheet. Would not print black. And I thought, well, maybe I can like tilt the shade slider and turn all the black red. And that way, you know, it'll be a red character sheet with black ink on it. That'd be kind of cool. No, that doesn't work because black is the presence of all color, artistically speaking. So you can't tilt it on a slider without making it white. So we got black, gray, the various shades of gray and white. So that doesn't help. You can't really do it. And I don't know how to tell a computer to replace all the black in a picture with red. I'm sure there's Photoshop ways to do it and junk like that, but could not do it. So now my printer, copier, scanner is just a scanner. So I need to, that's probably what I'm going to spend my next YouTube check on. Thanks to you guys always clicking on my thumbs ups and leaving comments and stuff. Thumbs up this video while you're at it. Help me get a new printer, because that always helps. But yeah, now it's just a big fancy looking scanner. And I thought, okay, what can I do now? You know, I work at a grocery store at the moment, so there's no printers there that I can use as a minion. You know, I'm not allowed up into any of the offices. Where can I go where I can get a printer? And I was like, well, I'm not in school anymore, so the local colleges aren't going to help. And I was like, I will go to the public library. So I stick my character sheet, like JPEG files or whatever, and I put it onto my thumb drive and I stick it in my pocket. I'm like, okay, this will be the most effort that I've ever put into obtaining a character sheet. But hey, the library is less than 5 miles away because I live in a tiny Minnesota town. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. This will make a funny story. I had to drive to the library to get a character sheet because my printer broke down. Little did I know, it was going to get a lot worse. This is why I called it the quest for the character sheet, because that was just the first breadcrumb. So I go, I've got my thumb drive ready, I've got like a pocket full of quarters for whatever the, you know, if you print something in black and white, it's 15 cents. If you print something in color, it's $1 per page, and, you know, whatever your local library happens to be. And I get there, and I go around, and I go to the front door, and I find that it has been sealed shut with, not graphite tape, electrical tape, and layers of Scotch tape. And there's a big sign on the door that says closed for renovations. And I'm like, damn it. Yeah, the one time I want to go to my local library, it's fucking closed for renovations. I was like, okay, where else can I go to obtain a printout of something now that I am not in school and the local library is closed? And I thought for a while, and I go, oh, well, I have friends at my local gaming store, so why don't I go over there, and I bet the shop owner would be glad to trade, you know, a quarter for a sheet of paper out of his printer with a character sheet printed on it. So I go over there, and the game store that I frequent is called the Quill and Blade. and the guy's name is Dan. And I go, Dan, I'm looking for a printer. I've got to get this character sheet done. I've just been invited to a super cool sounding campaign, and I need like 3 sets of character sheets because it's going to be like 6 games long, and I hate to like erase and write new stuff and erase and write new stuff. So like every 3 games that I play in a campaign, I'll just make a brand new character sheet because I insist on everything being anal retentively nice looking. That way I don't have to squint at my own writing. I go in there, I was like, Dan, do you know where I can find a printer? And I'm like, hint, hint, with the side of my head, because he's got a computer and a printer set up there in the shop. And he goes, well, there's such and such printing across the street. And I go, what, really? And I go, and the Quillen Blade is in the basement of a bookstore. So I go, really? And he goes, yeah, it's just across the street. So I go up the stairs. This is another breadcrumb, and I'm up in this mom and pop bookshop where I buy books sometimes because it's a local business and not a Barnes and Nobles where everything costs $40. And I like peer across the street, and I see it's such and such printing, and I go, oh, okay. So I cross the street, and I almost get nailed by a fucking Humvee. And just goddamn, my life flashes before my eyes on this quest to get a character sheet. And this jackass leans at us and is like, watch where you're going, use the crosswalk. And I'm like, you're driving downtown in this tiny, I'm not going to say the name of the town, but you're driving in downtown blah blah blah. You shouldn't be going more than 5 miles an hour. Because there are several historic locations in this town, and the speed limit is rather low because there's a lot of people like stopping and like rubbernecking at certain things. But I almost get hit by a freaking Humvee, and then finally when he goes on in his gunmetal monstrosity, I look both ways this time, then I cross the street. And I find that such and such printing is for brochures, yearbooks, posters, laminates, landscapes, if you like paint a painting and you want to make prints of it, they do that. And I'm like, yes, surely they have a copy machine here, or somebody's computer is hooked up to a goddamn printer. And, even if there's like, oh, we only print things in like, values of 10, I'd print 10 character sheets because my printer is broken. I'd have some on hand after that. And so I pull on the door and it's locked. Such and such printing is closed. I was like, God fucking damn it. I was like, what the hell am I supposed to do? So I go next door to like this little coffee shop, and I'm sitting there just like, I've got that like nervous like foot tap, if you're waiting for a bus to arrive or you're waiting for your computer to load something, you tap your heel really fast, and I'm just like leaning on my own elbow, staring out the window. I'm like, if they're renovating the library, where did all the books go? Because you can't renovate a building full of very, very flammable objects and expect people to run around with power tools and extension cords. So I go back to the library that is, sealed up with, I guess it's construction tape. I don't know. They really didn't want people pulling on that door for some reason. It was locked as it was, but it was like taped up on all sides. Maybe they were painting or something, but... And I look at like the posters and all the things, closed for renovation, and then under it, much smaller, it says, we have gone to such and such address. And I was like, why does that address look familiar? And I get on to my GPS in my car, which is questionable at best. It's not a very good GPS. And it says that address is actually City Hall. And I'm like, oh, this is another breadcrumb in my character sheet quest. God damn. And I'm like, okay, I've never actually been to City Hall because in this town. City Hall is actually nestled among residential buildings, like old houses. There's a lot of houses in this town that are over 100 years old. It's a very old set of architecture kind of town. But City Hall basically sits in a neighborhood somewhere. And it's a proper City Hall, don't get me wrong. But they've taken all the books there, along with all their computers and all their equipment. And I was like, surely there will be a computer that I can sit on for 2 goddamn minutes and print out a fucking character sheet. And I'm already a little wary because I have to rely on my GPS because I get very lost very easily. So I let Bree, my girlfriend, do all the driving when we go places, because if it's outside like a 20-mile radius of my house, then I immediately get lost. I get turned around. I follow signs that go nowhere. I end up in like the backwoods of a cornfield somewhere in the middle of goddamn nowhere. The only thing is, this GPS is kind of a piece of garbage, because a long time ago I asked it to send me to the nearest Best Buy, and I had plugged it into my computer and let it do all of its updates. You know, the maps are constantly changing, roads are being built, bridges are being torn down and rebuilt so you can't go there, etc., etc. So it's up to date. And I say, send me to Best Buy, and it takes me to a chandelier store in the middle of nowhere. And yeah, that's oddly specific, a chandelier store. But apparently there's enough call for chandeliers in my area that there is a chandelier store that used to be a Best Buy. And I was like, okay. Later on, many months later, I asked this GPS to send me to a jewelry store because I want to get my girlfriend a very nice necklace for her birthday. And it ends up sending me to a residential neighborhood with a confused old man that wants to know why his house is marked as a jewelry store, because it's the correct address, and he's a metallurgist who is associated with Sam's Club. And Sam's Club, for those of you that don't know, is basically a store where you buy in bulk. Like if you were going to buy M&Ms there, you would buy like the big boxes of M&Ms with like 28 bags of M&Ms in them. But you could buy like cases of stuff, like cases of ketchup if you owned a restaurant, or cases of water if you're into survivalist stuff, or freaking just things you can buy in bulk. That's what Sam's Club is. He was apparently associated with Sam's Club, and Sam's Club told my GPS that his house was a jewelry store because he's a metallurgist. And I was like, the hell is wrong with this GPS? So it sent me to some really interesting places. So there I am, a couple of weeks ago, as of the making of this video, looking for City Hall. And I know it's within 5 miles of me, but I've got this really wonky GPS. I was like, you better not fucking take me to Taco Bell or something, because I need to find City Hall, to find the library that has moved, to find, to swallow the spider to catch the fly, and I don't know why she swallowed the fly, perhaps she'll die, and on down the chain, to find a goddamn printer to get a character sheet. So I'm like, I've got it in one hand and I'm driving with the other hand, and I plug it into my cigarette lighter, and I was like, okay, City Hall. I type in the address, and I hope to God that City Hall hasn't moved, because this is like the last breadcrumb that I have to follow. If I can't find where the library is gone, I really don't know of any other places where I can just wander in and ask for something to be printed without looking like a weirdo, I mean, I'm sure there are printers, for computers in restaurants and in other businesses and stuff, but it's no business of anybody to wander in and just ask for printouts of something. It's not the nature of their business. So I go, and I'm like, okay, you've got 5 miles to not fuck up. Let's go. So I drive really slowly through the historical part of town, and I end up in this neighborhood, and I'm already like, oh, what is this garbage? You're about to lead me to the fucking governor's mansion or something, aren't you? I'm going to end up in a cotton field somewhere, or excuse me, it's Minnesota, a cornfield somewhere. Cotton is Kentucky. In a cornfield somewhere, and you're Some little old lady is going to wander out and want to know what the hell I'm doing on her lawn. And I said, well, this GPS says that you're City Hall. No. It actually leads me to City Hall. So it's got one check mark on the... I actually took my guy where I'm supposed to, and about 90 on the I fucked up column. So 89 more, and it'll be a reliable GPS again. I arrive at City Hall. And City Hall's a very weird, like, squat building with stairs going up, stairs going down. It's not very fancy. It's a very ugly building. They must have rebuilt it with, like, a modernist thing in hand, because there's, like, twisting hallways and tiny offices and weird little nooks and crannies. I was like, they fit a library in here. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see which one of these tiny fucking rooms they stuck the whole public library in. So I wander upstairs. I finally see a sign that says, the blah-de-blah public library is on the second floor. I was like, oh, I've got to see this. I've got to see the one room that they stuck the whole fucking library into, because that's what they did. And I finally get up there, and there's like a lady behind a desk, and there's a set of 5 computers, and there's a few like stacks of books. I mean like little aisles. This clearly was a conference room or something similar, because there's a projector on the ceiling. So I'm wondering, maybe there's like a couple of rooms that are considered the library right now. But I think I wandered into like the computer lab, and I look over. 4 of these 5 computers are occupied. I'm like, oh God, yes. It would have sucked if I got here and there were like 5 kids sitting on these computers playing, Newgrounds games until fucking dusk, because their mom doesn't make them go to the library to freaking read books. And I've seen that happen too many times. Kids go to the library to rent movies or rent manga or whatever, not actually freaking read books. If it were up to me, when I am king, I will take all computers out of all libraries. I don't care what anybody says. Oh, I don't have a computer access at home. Well, tough shit. Libraries are for books and maps and dictionaries and manga. We can keep the manga. The computers go, though. Anyway, 4 of these 5 computers are occupied. I'm like, oh yes, there's one. So I plunk myself down in front of it, and I pull my library card, because it has to take like your library card number or whatever as your access code, so they know who's doing what on their computers. And I was like, okay, easy enough. And actually, before I got there, I stopped at an ATM, and I was like, I don't have any cash on me. It's gonna suck if I get there and can't have anything to pay with, because they're not gonna take my card to print 2 sheets of paper. So I stopped at an ATM and got a $20 bill, because of course, right? I thought I was being clever, but it gets worse. So I sit at the one unoccupied computer in this group of 5, and there's like a dude next to me with like, I think he was doing like his tax returns or something. He had like a basket, like an Easter basket, full of like receipts that were all yellowed and crumpled up, and he was like typing away on Microsoft Excel. I was like, I wonder if he's like settling his affairs or something. And this other lady looks like she's job hunting, and the other 2 were doing whatever, answering emails. And I was like, there's a really just eclectic group of people. I just want to fucking print something and leave. And so I put in my library card number, and then it wants a PIN. And I was like, a PIN? What? So I go over to the librarian lady who's sitting behind this desk doing whatever librarians do when they're not checking books in and out. And I say, I need a library PIN number. And she goes, oh, it should be the last 4 digits of your phone number. And I go, oh, okay. So I pull my cell phone out and I go sit down again. I was like, okay, it's blah, 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 blah. So I put in blah, 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 and it's wrong. And I go, okay. So I double check that my library card number is correct. And I go over and I bother this lady again. I said, it's not taking my phone number. It's like, I never call myself, so I don't know what my own phone number is. So I checked it on my phone, but it still says it's wrong. And she goes, oh, have you tried your social security number? And my knee-jerk reaction is, why the fuck does this library know my social security number? But then I remembered, if you sign up for a public library card, they get your social security number. So I go over and I sit down again, and I put in the last 4 digits of my social security number. Finally, it works. And I'm like, yes, finally, goddamn. And I glance over to make sure before I fuck around that there is a printer and it's on and it's plugged in and it doesn't say out of ink on it, because enough bullshit has happened today that I know something else is going to go wrong. So I pull out my little memory stick or whatever, my jump drive, yeah. And I lean down to look under the table, and again, this is 5 computers at like a long conference table, and the little login screen says, this is computer number 4. And there's a little note attached to the monitor that says, this is computer number 9. I was like, huh, that's weird. So I looked down under the conference table with my memory stick, like, where do I plug it in? And in front of me are computers number 4 and computers number 7 and computers number 9. And I'm like, and not only are they not facing me, they're facing like the other 2 people that are sitting congruent from me. And I was like, okay. So I get up and I bother this poor librarian for the 3rd time. I was like, what computer is that? It says 4 on the screen, it says 7 on the thing, and there's like computer number 3 and computer number 9 are the ones in front of me. She goes, oh, that one's just jammed in the middle of all of them, which is freaking dangerous, by the way. Computers are very hot machines, especially the nicer ones, and this library had nice computers. I was like, if you stick 5 towers next to each other, you're gonna start a fire. And so I basically have to get down on my hands and knees, and I'm like, this is my day. This is my day, getting this goddamn character sheet. So I find my computer, and I stick my thumb drive in there, and I get back, and I was like, okay, print. And I go over to the little station where you feed your money in, and the little sign says, it only takes 1s and 5s. And I am holding a $20 bill. So I wander over to this librarian for the 4th or 5th time, and I was like, can you break a 20? And God bless this woman, smiles and nods and pulls open a money drawer, because of course she does, for late fees and stuff, I imagine. And she makes change for me, and I wander back, and I was like, and I just wanted to like cry in front of this woman, because everything has gone wrong. Everything has gone wrong today, just trying to get 2 pieces of goddamn paper. And I'm like, thank you so much. Like, probably with more heart and soul than she was probably comfortable with. Like, thank you. And I go back to the print station, and I hit print again, and I feed it, a $1 bill. She gave me like 3 5s and 5 1s. And I feed it the $1 bill, and it's like 15 cents per page. And I printed like 3 or 4 character sheets, so 6 pages. It ended up being like 90 cents, I think. For this entire endeavor, 90 cents, printed 3 character sheets. And I'm like, oh, I finally did it. And I stick it, I have my my grid paper like notebook with me, and I stick them in there. And I was like, I did it. It only took like 3 hours or more going all across town, and I'm like going down the stairs, and as soon as I reach for the door to go outside and get in my car and go the fuck home, there's just this big blast of thunder and lightning, and it starts pouring with rain. You cannot make this bullshit up. All the suffering and pain I went through to get these goddamn character sheets, it starts pouring with rain. So I fucking book it across the parking lot with, I basically stuck it under my shirt and like hunched, because God knows that my notebook would get soaked and the character sheets would get ruined by the time I get home. So I stuck them in the notebook, stuck them in my shirt, hunched, and ran for my car, and hoped the guy with the Humvee doesn't come along again and just nail me and lay me out on the road. Jump in my car, and I'm like, I did it. Surely nothing else will go wrong when I am on my way home. Oh. And so I click my little GPS. I was like, I'll throw you out the goddamn window. Take me home or else. And it takes me, and the GPS, unfortunately, I owned this GPS when I still lived in Kentucky. So home was programmed as Shepherdsville, Kentucky. And it's like, you were, what did it say, 17 hours from your destination. I was like, bullshit I am. So I had to manually enter my Minnesota address where I live now. It's like, oh, you're 5 miles from home. I was like, that's fucking better. Let's go. So I drive home. And I lock myself in this room. And I was like, that was my whole day, wasn't it? Getting these character sheets. And so I get out my D6s and I start rolling my character sheet. But god damn. The quest for the... And here they are. Hey, I made it. This is Crypt Breaker James. A name that I'm reusing from a different... from an OVA game. But, an original character whom has already participated in a game. So I have another story to tell today, probably. And I got home and I was like, okay, where are all my notes? My notes were gone. I had cleaned house before I left because my printer broke the day before and it was my day off, so I was like scrubbing things and rearranging my office and throwing away papers and stuff. I lost all my character notes. All the things that I had sat down for hours. You know, oh, what was it? He's got the sage background. He's a fourth level rogue, you know, neutral good. He's got these stats. He's got these weapons. He knows these languages. He's got these feats. This is his background, etc., etc. They were gone. I don't know where they are. I'll find them like a month from now and start swearing. So... now I have my character sheet, but none of my character notes, so I had to start making my character from scratch after all that. So that was my day. That was the quest for the character sheet, and I swear to you, all of that happened, because you can't make this shit up. So I'm sitting there in the middle of the night, going, just like doing... character set, just like after all this shit, I was like, James, Tim, this better be the best goddamn campaign I have ever played in, because this bullshit cannot keep going. It's funny now, but it was not funny then. Just crap kept happening. So that was the quest for the character sheet. I hope that was entertaining for you guys. Click the like button so I can earn some YouTube monies and get a new printer and not have to do that ever again. And I will see you guys on the next D&D stories. Keep gaming.